Okay guys, I am attempting to freehand some video footage. This is the distance the torque converter mounting feet are from the flex plate after installing the 6-liter spacer on the back of the crankshaft and the flat flex plate. It's perfectly, I would not say that's much. If that's more than 1/8 of an inch, it can't be much. I know that's hard to see, but that's literally a close-up of how far that torque converter is going to have to move forward to mate to the flex plate to put the bolts in. I'll see if I can get a shot. It's hard to visualize. There's that hub. If you look up in there to the center, there's the adapter sticking out. So literally when the feet or the mounting tabs or lugs from the torque converter are bolted to the flex plate, there's just a small gap between the end of that adapter ring or adapter deal I bolted on. Probably has that little extra space directly related to that 55 thousandths I ground off the end of it. So sorry it's a little bit shaky, but I'm trying to freehand laying underneath the car. I'm getting ready to put the flex plate bolts in, and I wanted to get some footage of this before I got too far along, because right now I've just got the bell housing bolts in. Looks like we're winning, guys. It looks like we're finally winning. Alright guys, I want to go ahead and wrap up this video about the transition to the 6.0 crankshaft spacer and the flat flex plate. Torque converter is fully seated to the flex plate. All 3 bolts are in and tightened, but I was trying to show you the extra 55 thousandths that I removed off the end of that adapter helped in the way that it allows me to verify that the torque converter was fully seated onto the flex plate without putting any force on the flex plate. The reason why that's important is if you have the center of the torque converter bottomed out on your adapter, and then you tighten your bolts and it pulls the flex plate to the mounting pads of the torque converter, it's going to wobble. It's going to cause a lot of vibration, and you'll be able to watch the flex plate while it's running sit there and just wobble around because it's not flat anymore, because you've distorted it by pulling it to the torque converter. So that was my reasoning for going ahead and removing that material. There's just a little bit of space, and I'm sorry that this phone doesn't want to focus on it as clear as I hoped, but I've got maybe 10 or 15 thousandths or something, just enough space from that adapter bottoming out on the center of the torque converter where you can see the shiny from the snout of the torque converter. But everything is installed. It was absolutely hard to lay on your back, rotate this engine to get to the one area right over here above the starter where you can put your stupid torque converter bolts in. You know, I grew up working on small block Chevys, big block Chevys, where you could pretty much get the flex plate in the right position and do 2 out of 3, you know, at the same time. But you know, that ain't happening in this application because of the oil pan. And note to self, these new oil pans have razor sharp edges and it'll take the skin right off of you. I did want to show you, I was able to, see if I can back up a little bit. I was able to modify the transmission crossmember from the Blazer. Remember, this thing had been modified previously with 6-inch steel pipe sectioned into the crossmember for clearance for dual exhaust, but it would not line up with the factory holes the way it was made. So basically what I ended up doing was just cut the mounting tab off of this Blazer transmission cross member. I did cut about a 1/2 inch off each end of it just to make it easier to get in the frame rail. The hole you drill for your transmission mount, this transmission cross member is not equally, it's not an equal distance from left side to right side. Your transmission mount hole, basically all I had to do was drill a 1/2 inch hole in the top for the bolt on the tranny mount to drop through, and then I just hole sawed a hole in the bottom so I could get up in there and put a nut and a washer on the bottom of the mount. It actually works perfect. And then of course this mount, this transmission mount I'm using, that is some kind of homemade, home adapted, like S10 type mount. Someone had welded to just a piece of flat stock and had it bolted on that BOP Turbo 400 I bought, but it actually worked perfect. So you know, as long as I've got a single bolt transmission mount, which most even of the aftermarket universal mounts will have 3 different holes in the bottom, I'm good to go. I can swap that out for an energy suspension at a later date, but I'm just really happy to not have to spend any more money than I had to finalize this transmission install. So that's where I'm at, guys. I'm trying to get everything else buttoned up, start measuring for a drive shaft. Anyway, I appreciate it, guys. Please watch, subscribe, hit the little bell, and hit up the comments. Thanks again.